Devoted chosen. Such misplaced zeal, their eyes remain closed to the true path. Not like you.
Hey guys and gals, welcome back to another wild video. This past week has been very busy for me. With Mother's Day, work returning, and plenty of real life intervening, I've had hardly any time to play. At that, do my 4-hour days. Which brings us to this video, the reality of making gold versus real life. In this series, I'll be discussing the trials and errors people make when making gold from raw to auction house. This series will help new and old players alike, the reality of making gold over fantasy predictions and more. Before we get into that, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button to get notified when I release my new content and all the juicy gold guides. So making gold is one of the best things to do in World of Warcraft. It's a way of paying a token or to buy tmog you always wanted or anything in the game you want. It's a means to end that you alone can only answer. But in turn, it collides with aspects of real life, whether it be auction house or raw gold. In part 1, we will be discussing raw and auction house gold, plus real life and its effects of each other. At this current time of the expansion, everything has slowed down when it comes to wants for raids. We are on the verge of a new expansion which is set to release as early as November. Shadowlands has been said to reach a high bar for expansions with tons of changes. Things we've never seen in game that will change the game for the better or for the worse. But one thing never changes is real life. We all have a real life, whether it be working, family, side hobbies, or anything else. We have other things to do on top of World of Warcraft. One of the biggest type of questions I get even to this day is how do I make gold fast without putting a lot of time in it? I'm not gonna lie to you, the only secure way of making gold fast and no effort is to buy wild tokens. But even then, it takes about 2 to 12 hours to sell a wild token. Plus, don't forget you gotta earn real money, which an average worker in real life is gonna take about 1 hour and 15 minutes to 1 hour and 30 minutes to actually make enough for a wild token, which I don't think a lot of people want to spend their money on. My goal has always been to help players to get gold free and not spend a dime. So far, so good, I hope, and let me know in the comments below if I helped you any, but that's off the subject. Let's actually take my last week for example. I had a very busy week. With everything returning where I live and going back to work, there's a lot to be done. It cut my week down to no farming time for my guide. As you can see here is a whole week just missed. If I average that, that's 20k a day. At my lowest, that's about 140k lost, a token missed due to real life. I expect y'all to agree with me when real life comes first in every aspect. But what is your real life? This is a question you should be asking when playing MMOs. Is the MMO your life? Is it a hobby? Is it a free time? I'm not here to give you advice about life. I'm here to give you advice about gold. Real life is included in this regardless how you put it. That's where the type of gold you need is inserted here. We will be starting off with raw gold. A few key points about raw gold. It's 100%, it's yours, no need to pay tax at the auction house. It can be repeated with the same result. It's way lower in terms of sales. Raw gold is defined by the gold that is acquired without posting or waiting for said gold from the auction house. Anything that is not needed to be sold on the auction house that has a value is raw gold. Farms such as Freehold and Iron Docks are raw gold farms, which will give you an amount of gold per hour. Raw gold most of the time is solo and players do not have to worry about undercuts and people coming in and taking over said spot unless it's a open world spot, which you do have to worry, but is not that many spots that are out there in the world right now. Most raw gold makers hit up Skyreach, Freehold, and Iron Docks for solo runs. Group runs or 2 teams are more akin to instant respawns. Raw gold is great for new players and players who don't want the auction house, but it has somewhat of a downside. Raw gold takes time to farm and an argument can be made that is longer than auction house, but we will get into that later. Regardless, real life is affected a lot by our farms. A strict schedule is needed to make sure you get the most out of the raw gold farms. If you plan on taking the raw gold way, you need to understand that it will always be there. Unlike auction house prices, it never goes down for raw gold items. They will actually stay the same when it vendors, unless Blizzard decides to nerf them again, and we saw this in Mr. Panda whenever BFA came out. They actually nerfed Mr. Panda raids and dungeons, the gold you get and so forth, but that was 3 expansions later. Other than that, don't expect nerfs to be every month or later in the expansion. Final note, raw gold is 100%, no denying that. It could take more time or less depending on how you go about farming. Raw gold is not 100k in an hour gotcha gold. Raw gold will take time to show major results, in turn taking more real life time. As a raw gold maker, you need to weigh the time, expectations, and end goal. Going into raw gold, you could not expect 1 million in a week or the like. you can expect a WoW token a week or more with the raw gold. That's the reality. We know it's inferior to buying WoW tokens in auction house gold, but unlike buying WoW tokens, it's 100% free. Unlike auction house gold, it's 100% guaranteed. Let me know below if you're wanting to become a raw gold maker. It's well worth it. Auction house gold, the game within a game. Let's start off with a few key points. It has potential to make thousands if not millions. Most items can sell in here. Farming is still a big thing for auction house. You have to compete with others. Even with the changes, rare drops can bring tons of gold. tmog can take ages to sell. Materials can sell fast or slow, depends on server and time. Auction house gold is defined by anything that can be posted on auction house to sell to others. Auction house is a fickle matter for a lot. We can't deny the obvious. Once you post, you can go and do other things with your time. Meaning in some cases it's a post and sell, but 90% of the time it's post then get undercut and repost game. Even with these changes they made to the auction house, people still undercut and decrease. This brings heartaches to players who don't sit and wait, making items like tmog take days, weeks, and even months to sell. Now, one of the big things that people overlook is time. Here's an example. Person farms Zen Herb for 2 hours by themselves, not a group. Remember, average player does not have 2 accounts. Let's say they get a 300 Zen, which is an average on a normal route. Right now, they're going for 10 gold on my server, but it says mid price is 18 gold per herb. Your realm will actually be different, but let's go off of 18 gold. With a 2 hour, you'll get about 10,800 gold off of 600 at 18 gold each, according to the undermine. Now that does not include cost of travel if needed, cost of deposit, time of wait, which at this point is not short as most will think. Depending on server, you might sell ASAP, fast, it all depends on your server. Or you might sell in an hour or 2. Now, let's say the person farmed Freehold or Skyreach for those 2 hours instead. You will make an average of 2 to 4k more just doing the raw gold way than the auction house. Point is, on average, the mats are actually going to be not wanted anymore. Yes, you can use them for other stuff like flask and potions, but I will say right now, at this point in the expansion, it's just not as expensive as if it was the first of the expansion or a new raid tier. Now, yes, you can bring in flask, potions, and so forth, saying that you can get more of this and that, but then that goes into, you know, you need another profession, you need to do this and so forth. I'm actually going to keep away from that. We're just going off of herbs, okay? It's just the point that, you know what, you got to put your, you know, your peas and your olives, I guess that's the saying, and put it together and say, hey, which one's actually better, which one's worth more, and so forth. Now, I do want to say right now, I'm not hating on auction house, okay? I love auction house. I made a lot of gold myself out of it, but you can't push aside the reality of time it takes to sell. If you're a server that sells fast, great, man, that's awesome. But there are the exact same amount of players where their servers don't sell anywhere close to fast sellers. When farming tmog, it can be an amazing thing when a rare item drops. It can be worth 100k or more. But the question is simple. Is there a market for it? Is it sought out? If the item does not apply to either one of these questions, then you're looking at a long post and it might take some time to sell. This is the way it works when it comes to auction house. tmog itself can sell as long as you find your way around TSM. You see, I understand the auction house game when it comes to tmog. There are two sides, those who say just undercut a copper and it will sell eventually, and those who say undercut how much you want to sell fast. Now the first type of player's mindset is if we all do this, everything will sell, which they are right, but kidding themselves. People are here to make gold for themselves, not you. I have seen players post a 100k item for 70k and it sold ASAP when said item took months to sell. Now you can argue that it hurts the economy, which it does if said items are mats. For tmog, no, it does not. Mats should never be undercut that much, but tmog, of course. If you have a tmog for 4 months on the auction house and wonder why it has not sold, well, there it is. 90% of the time, people keep at the same prices when in reality they are not the price anymore. One of the best sites out there is Undermine. This site tells you everything from history, sells more, and link is gonna be below. But point is, don't feel bad to posting tmog 20% less or so to sell. You are there for you, not anybody else. And no, auction house is great. There is a lot of aspects to it. Sniping, flipping, and just posting. These methods can bring a lot of gold to you, but remember, do not fall for those I made 100k in 2 minutes, when in reality they spent 90k and took 2 days to sell to make the 100k. Auction house gold making is an art, and it can be perfected if used right. So please weigh your options, and if you want to be an auction house seller, great! Not a bad way of making gold. So in the end, both methods of making gold will help you towards your goals. Each method has its kinks and can be perfected with time. Which leads us to the point of this series, is time in real life. It's the big question when choosing. Remember to ask yourself this and let me know below. Remember to check out the Patreon link in the description. It actually helps us out to do more videos and get more content out there. I want to say thank you so much to all my patrons out there to go that extra mile. And remember guys, making gold together is what we're doing here. And I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you. And like always, please like, subscribe, and comment. And stay stashy.